I just realized you probably can't even read what that says, but it says, "May the odds be ever in your favor." Today, I'm talking about my Hunger Games phase. I have gone through several phases in my childhood where I was obsessed with various different things. I went through a whole phase where I was just convinced that I was a vampire alongside my friend Luna, and we just went about our lives as if we had this super secret identity as vampires, you know, naturally as one does. And no, it was not inspired by Twilight. I've never seen Twilight, nor do I really have any desire to. It was inspired by my babysitter's a vampire and just vampires in general, so there's that. I went through also a really big phase where I was absolutely obsessed with Hunger Games and Divergent. Those two books like shaped my entire, or book series shaped my entire like high school experience. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't still slightly obsessed with them both to this day. They're both still some of my favorite stories ever, especially the Hunger Games. I know they just recently had like the new Hunger Games movie, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I have yet to see it, but I honestly still love the Hunger Games so much. It's still one of my favorite book series to read through. Hunger Games also inspired me to try and write my own Hunger Games-esque story when I was in junior high, so I would have been 12 or 13 when I wrote this, and I wanted to write my own Hunger Games based story, but instead of random characters I didn't know, I wanted it to really resonate with me, so I wanted to include my friends and myself as characters in this story, and it became a very different story. Like, it started off being heavily based on the Hunger Games, and then it just kind of veered into its own really weird thing called the book Galaxies. I remember I designed a book cover too, and it was literally just like a Google stock image of a galaxy and then like the most generic S font saying Galaxies. That was the cover I created, and I'm gonna be reading that for this video so we can cringe together at the mistakes of my past. I don't know why my hair's doing this today. So before we get too far into it, I based this on me and my friends. I changed their names, but most of my friends knew who they were meant to be in this story. So I actually sent this to a couple of my friends and they liked it, or at least lied to me and said that they liked it and wanted me to keep going. But despite that, I never ended up finishing the story. It was based off of me and my best friend at the time. One of them was based off of my friend's boyfriend, who was an absolute terrible man, which we can acknowledge and realize now, but we didn't at the time that this was created. I think you can sort of see my disdain for him throughout this story, but I wouldn't let that on. And he actually really liked this story. I think he liked the romance aspect of it. So the character that was based off of me was named Mackenzie, or Mac. And so that is what the first chapter's perspective is from. It's from my point of view. You know that feeling? That nails on a chalkboard feeling, where your fingernails and toenails feel like waves dropping down on you and your heart feels heavy. Your knees are weak, arms are heavy, there's vomit on your sweater already, mom's spaghetti. Your head is a thunderstorm pounding with every step you take. That's exactly how I was feeling walking up to the stage. My name, of all names, had been chosen. I was going to be participating in the games. The games that had started 25 years ago. The games that nobody from my school district was ever chosen for. I was the third one chosen, after a boy with crazy messed up hair and glasses and a tall body. Second was a freakishly tall girl with brownish hair that I envied since my hair was a light blonde. We do not stand that. She's not freakishly tall. She's literally just a tall gal, and we do not stand tall gal slander here, or short gal slander here. We don't stand any slander here unless they've done something unjustifiable. And I love tall gals, so I'm sorry that 13-year-old me had a mind to write that. There were also two other girls who seemed to be friends with the brown-haired girl. One of the girls had red hair with a blonde tint. The other girl had short hair that was blonde with swirls of brown. I thought of a lollipop when I saw her. Besides the lollipop and the brownie, the red-haired girl seemed hard to name. Her eyes were a watery blue, probably filled with tears, as she stood by the lollipop and the brownie. As I passed her to board the school bus, I saw her eyes were pixelated blue, all blurry and hard to see. She kind of resembled a pixie fairy wearing a lime green dress that suited her thin figure, curled red hair, and big hipster glasses. That's when she became the pixie. I was trying to do like cute nicknames, and obviously It wasn't going very well. The messy-haired boy with glasses looked gentle, like he wasn't a tough sports player kind of guy. He seemed the type that reads comic books and loves school, the classic nerd stereotype. It was quite hysterical, picturing the tall shrimp with huge muscles. Pixie and Brownie sat together, Brownie by the window and Pixie next to her. Lollipop sat behind them, staring out the window at nothing but grass for acres and acres. She looked quite fascinated, however. Mr. Not So Tough was sitting by another boy. He had glasses too, but his hair wasn't as wild, yet it was dark. There was an interesting spark in his eyes. I couldn't decide if I should trust it or despise it. He seemed like a smart dude, so I decided he'd be the professor. Now, everyone had a nickname except Mr. Not So Tough. Not so? That reminded me of Nacho. I was really hungry. Nacho? It seemed completely unreasonable, but I decided he'd be the Nacho, at least until I learned who he really was. I really thought that this would become like a trending thing too. Like, I thought like people would fall in love with these like characters that I'd created. No, sweetie, no one wants to fall in love with a character named Nacho. Excuse me, a voice said from behind. I sat down in a seat as a short girl with green eyes and wavy black-brown hair passed me to find her seat. I decided her name would be Hazel because of her green eyes, and green wouldn't be an appealing name. Oh, so you're drawing a line of green? Hazel, Lollipop, Professor Nacho, and Pixie. My soon-to-be new group of friends. Hello, I said, but the words never actually left my tongue. They stayed suspended in the air, frozen, unable to move. Finally, the bus jolted forward, starting down the road to what everyone was thinking would be hell. Hello, my voice tried to say again, but it was nothing more than a whisper. Brownie was talking to Pixie, Lollipop poking them and smirking. I looked back at Nacho, who was staring at Brownie. Something wrong, Nacho? I asked, for a split second forgetting that I had never spoken to any of these people before and that they were unaware I secretly named them in my head. Everyone looked up, and then the nerd realized I was talking to him. He said, "What did you call me?" Okay, I said I've never spoken to these guys before, but like, we go to the same school in this, right? Granted, I didn't speak to everyone I went to school with, but I'm acting like they're complete strangers. Like, I knew who they were, right? If we went to the same school and we're in the same grade, wouldn't I have at least known their names? I don't know. Nacho, I replied. As I saw the confused faces on my busmates, I continued, I gave all of you nicknames. Hazel, Brownie, Professor, Lollipop, and Pixie. My name is Maya, the green-eyed girl replied. I'm Ty, Professor spoke up. Charlie, Nacho said. Charlie? I never would have guessed. I'm Lizzie, Pixie said. Lizzie was a beautiful name. It seemed to fit her girlish look. Eventually, I learned that the Lollipop was actually Ava, and the Brownie was actually Chloe. Chloe, that's a beautiful name, Charlie said to himself. Do you two know each other? I asked them. No, Chloe and Charlie said at the same time. After gazing into Brownie's eyes, Nacho said, but Brownie here is a beautiful girl. Chloe laughed. I'm not. But Charlie shrugged her comment away and went back to staring at solid nothingness. Brownie put her head on the window and shut her eyes. I think I drifted to sleep too, because my world became dark. Chapter 2. Chloe's perspective. The boy actually called me pretty. The boy whose name I didn't know. The boy with the messy brown hair and the brown eyes framed behind glasses. My body felt numb. He was slightly adorable, the way he looked at me as if he'd known me for years instead of minutes. Okay, you go to the same school. You know who he is. You've seen him in the hallways before. I pressed my head against the window, unable to look at anyone, but especially him. I was in a state of happiness and wanting. I wanted to know more about Charlie. I left my face vibrating with the bus pressed against the window, but I could not sleep, for my head was spinning out of control and my heart was racing. Maybe this is what love felt like? But it couldn't be love. I just met him. I pretended that it was just me alone on the bus with my heart heavy, my eyelids closed, and I was pulled slowly into sleep. I woke with shaky arms around my waist and at my calves. I was being carried. I felt like an angel being lifted into the sky. My whole entire body was numb, and Charlie, he was muttering some cuss words. I took a moment to find my voice, but once I did, I said, "What happened?" "The bus crashed and you were asleep," he told me as he touched my forehead. "You didn't wake up, so I carried you." When the sticky red stuff dripped into my eyes as I realized I was cut. How did I not wake up? He set me down gently in the grass, and I saw the rest of my group was having something to eat at a small fire. I was hungry, but I wanted nothing more than to be held by Charlie once again. I felt like a piece of me was gone. I assumed the feeling would dissolve by morning, as I was tired and bleeding. I watched as Charlie walked back to the fire with everyone else, leaving me on the grass by myself. He's just like, nah, I got you off the bus. That's as far as I'm getting here. I felt like crying. Maybe he didn't like me? My life turned to a black darkness and I was asleep again. I woke to the smell of something burning. As I looked at everyone else, I realized they were cooking raw fish. My heart started to race again, and I realized Charlie was next to me, carrying both his food and mine. "We can go eat by the river if you like," Charlie said, helping me to my feet. "Okay," I said, not wanting to let go of his warm, soft hand. Finally, our hands fell apart, and my heart fell apart with it. Jesus, man. Shut up. I threw my food to a nearby bird. I was afraid I could not eat anyways, as I wasn't even thinking straight. I feel like I'm not myself, like I'm someone else, like this was all a dream, a magical dream, and if it was, I didn't ever want to wake up. I shivered as the wind blew, hoping I'd be able to reawaken myself. Charlie placed his arm around me, and although my body was numb, it was instantly awake. My body was tingly and my eyes watered. I never felt such a tingly sensation. He looked down at me, his glasses reflecting the stars, creating a galaxy in his eyes. He started telling me stuff about his past life. All I could catch was the words brothers, dog, cat love, ex, hate, and chosen. I was too busy studying his eyes, a true illusion caused by the stars. I could see a whole galaxy in his eyes. "Hello, Earth to Chloe," he said as my body twitched with his harsh yelling. "I'm sorry, I was studying the galaxies," I replied, looking back for his eyes. I decided that the starry eyes were the best kind of eyes. the kind that could burn you up and yet cool you down at the same time. Charlie looked up, but my galaxy was him. His galaxy was just stars. That sounds like a deep quote that you'd see on like Pinterest or something, like about leaving your man. My galaxy was him. His was just the stars. The problem was there was no stars in the sky. They were all hidden by a deep black fog in the atmosphere. "I don't see any galaxies, silly," Charlie said, smiling cutely. "They're in your eyes," I replied, trying my best to sound cute, not desperate. Charlie smiled, looking down at the ground and then at me. Gosh, he was so perfect. "Hey, I know we just met and all," Charlie started. My heart started to beat really fast. Was this the moment I was waiting for? "But Chloe, I really like you, so I need to ask." The beautiful stars in his eyes became bright red lights in an instant, and I trembled as he let me go. My body was cold. "Charlie?" I said, but he wasn't Charlie anymore. "Charlie!" I screeched. I'd been dreaming that this night would end with a kiss and fireworks dazzling in the sky, a happy ever after. But instead, this happened. This had to be a dream. "Charlie!" I screamed louder and louder until my voice was dead. I ran back to my group frantically. They looked up at me with a look in their eyes that said, "This girl is crazy. Charlie is a monster," my voice whispered. "Please, he's not that ugly," Mackenzie said, a smirk on their face. "No, you don't understand." His eyes turned red. I could barely even get the words out. My voice, although strong in my head, wasn't strong in my heart. "What happened to the galaxies?" I asked Lizzie as she sat beside me for a moment, trying to calm me down. I was overflowing with tears. I couldn't control my emotions. "I don't know," Lizzie replied as calmly as she could. "We have to find the galaxies," I said. "Sure," Lizzie said. Put her arms around me, "Sweetie, I'll help you find the galaxies." I smiled for a moment, but wasn't sure I could believe her. A lot of carrying on about nothing. So I'm gonna jump ahead a little bit to where it gets a little more interesting than that. Okay, so the squad split up to go get food, so I'm not sure picking up. So, and I think then they like re-met up after. Okay, so Chloe is back in our group now. I could have sworn she was gone for good looking for Charlie, but she came back. Lizzie went and got her. I felt so out of place with everybody. Pixie and Brownie, or Chloe and Lizzie, seemed to be such good friends, and it was obvious that Brownie was meant to be with Nacho. Charlie. Even Ava and Maya seemed to know each other. I talked to Ty a little bit. He was nice, but a bit quiet and awkward. I seemed to be a few years younger than everyone. They seemed so old compared to me, being 13. Even though I was almost a 9th grader, I still felt so small compared to my group. That's deep and real. That's how I felt in real life. I was still awake even though everyone else was asleep. I just couldn't fall asleep. I kept remembering what Chloe said about galaxies in his eyes and laser beams. It seemed so unrealistic, but at the same time I really wanted to find out. It would be a cool story to bring home, you know, if we made it home. I was determined to get up and go with Chloe to find Charlie. I wanted to see the laser beams. I wanted to be able to come home and tell the story in 9th grade. I wished I had a camera so I could take pictures, but we weren't allowed to bring anything like that with us. I knew people wouldn't believe me, but that's okay. I would know I was telling the truth. Finally, as I was starting up the sky, my eyelids grew heavy and I drifted off to sleep. I woke up to the sun shining brightly in my face and I seemed to forgot where I was. I forgot that we were here. I forgot everything that happened yesterday. Okay, we get it, you forgot. And then reality hit me like a bullet. It wasn't painful when it was coming, but once it hit me, it hit hard. "Hey," I heard someone say, but I couldn't tell who. "What?" I replied. You okay there? You look a bit, stressed. It was Ty. He was the first one to wake up after me, obviously. No, I'm okay, I lied. I didn't even know him. Why would I tell him my problems? Are you sure about that? He asked me. He was the guy in the bus who had the eyes I wasn't sure if I could trust. Now I thought I could trust him. Yeah, I'm fine, I said, starting to stand up. My head felt dizzy as I tried to stand. If I was at home, I'd probably eat breakfast, pick out the perfect outfit to impress the guy I liked, and then go to school. I absolutely hated school, but now I wanted nothing more than to go to school. I'd rather be solving algebraic equations than be trying to survive out here. Hey guys, Lizzie said. Oh hi, I replied, looking at Lizzie. I was wondering if that's how I looked. Her hair was in a bun, a really messy bun, and it was starting to get a bit oily. Her skin was kind of dirty, and her dress was already dirty. And this was only the second day of being here. Okay, can we not talk about Lizzie like that? What is wrong with me? Sup, she said calmly. Are you and Chloe going to look for Charlie today? I asked. I really want to join them. Of course. Why? I want to come, I said wildly. I don't think that's a good idea, Mackenzie, Lizzie said. If we do find Charlie, we don't want to risk 3 people's lives. Seriously? All I wanted to do was have the time of my life, but they didn't want me to come. Come on, Lizzie, please, I begged. I'll let Chloe decide, Lizzie replied, starting to walk away. Where are you going? I called after her. Trying to find some food and water, she answered. I was tempted to fall, but decided it'd be best if I stayed behind. I didn't want to cause any problems. I waited for everybody else to wake up so I wouldn't be lonely. Lizzie left to find food and water. Ty was awake, but there was no way I was talking to him. Charlie was obviously not here, and the others, like I said, asleep. After a moment, I could hear Ava start to wake up. I decided to be quiet instead of brushing her. Besides, I didn't know if she was one of those people who'd be angry in the morning. Hi, Ava said after a moment. Hey, I replied, glad someone was finally awake. Where's Lizzie? She went to find food, and then she and Chloe are gonna go look for Charlie. Oh, yeah. After a moment, Ava stood up, so I stood up too. What you doing? I asked. She didn't answer, she just kept walking. Lizzie should be back by now. I shrugged. It seemed like she only left 5 minutes ago. You couldn't expect to find food in 5 minutes, could you? I'm sure she's fine, Ava, I said, going back to the ground where she started. I wasn't in a good mood to go chasing after Lizzie. I lay down and started to look at the sky, finding shapes. At first, I just saw blobs, like little pieces of white cotton candy, but thinking about food, I could make out more things. I saw a dog, an airplane, I even saw a house, and then I saw little people by the house. But my train of thought was interrupted when I heard Ava screaming, Dead! Lizzie's dead! What? I exclaimed. How could she be dead? She just went to go find food. I think she was attacked, Ava replied. She was covered in blood. She held up her hand to show the blood coming off of it, but it wasn't hers, it was Lizzie's. It was a light red, the color of ketchup, but the consistency of, well, blood. Everyone else woke up with the commotion. Assuming Charlie wasn't coming back, now we were down to 5. Chloe, Ava, Ty, and Maya. Charlie was a monster. Lizzie was dead. This just kept getting worse and worse. Okay, we only have 1 more chapter left, so I'm just gonna push through it. Dad, are you serious? I asked Ava. I just woke up to the sound of her scream. Yes, Ava screeched, tears forming in her eyes. Oh, I sighed. Lizzie was one of the only people I knew when I came here. She was gonna help me look for Charlie. I knew it was kind of selfish to still be thinking about Charlie now, but I wanted to be in his arms now more than ever. One of my best friends was attacked. This sucks, Mackenzie whined. First we lost Charlie, now Liz. Charlie, I heard the name Charlie. I was mad that they decided to bring Charlie into this. Charlie's not lost. We're gonna bring Charlie back, I whined. He's not coming back. Maya said, a smirk on her face. He's a monster. My heart melted. She was right. Charlie was a monster, but I still wanted to see him one more time, even if he killed me. I was fine with him being the last thing I laid my eyes on. It's okay, Chloe. I'm sure he'll come back, Ava said. But right now we need to decide what to do with Lizzie. We should bury her, Ty said. Where? Yeah, let's go. Chloe, will you help me? Ava replied, yeah, of course, I said. I followed her a little ways away until I saw her lifeless body, her body covered in blood, and I shivered in fear. Was that gonna happen to me? Do you want to take her head or her legs? Ava asked. Her voice sounded weird in my head, like everything was an echo. I'll take her head, I responded, kneeling down before her body. I slowly reached on her arms and picked her up as Ava took her other half. Her clothes were torn and she had bloody gashes everywhere on her cheek, stomach, her arm, her leg. We carried her back to the rest of the group. We have to dig a hole. Okay, I think the rest is just really boring, like detailing. We didn't have shovels or anything, so it's gonna be kind of hard. We can leave her in a ditch, Ty suggested. That's a lot easier, I said. We continued to walk together, carrying Lizzie with us. Can I have a minute alone with Lizzie? I asked sweetly. I guess, but hurry up, we gotta move. We don't want whatever attacked her to attack us. No sympathy, no empathy, nothing. I sat by Lizzie in the ditch, but instead of talking, I just cried. I grabbed her dead hand, looking for something of hers to keep. There was a necklace around her neck, but it looked important. It was a locket, which meant there was a picture inside. I took the necklace and put it around my neck, but didn't dare open it. It was still Lizzie's necklace, after all. I sat there a minute, holding the necklace in my hand, looking at it. I noticed something strange. I picked her up to examine it closer. It wasn't an ordinary cut. It was a burn. Something burnt and attacked Lizzie. I was 90% sure that it was Charlie. Charlie! I screamed, but I remember that it wasn't Charlie. It was something inside of him that was making him all crazy. I love you, I whispered for Lizzie and for Charlie. I got up and went back to my group. You okay? Ty asked. Yeah, I'm okay, I responded. I smiled, following Ava. She was the leader of the group now. Behind her was Mackenzie, chatting away. Then there was Ty, who kept looking back at me, smiling to make sure I would smile back. I smiled back every time, but as soon as he turned the other way, I let my smile drop. Lastly, there was Maya, who was behind me. We're gonna get through this, Chloe, she said to me randomly. I stopped walking, looking back at her. What? I said we're gonna get through this. I know Lizzie was important to you, and so was Charlie, but we can get through it. Okay, I said, stopping to walk not in front of her, but right next to her. Come on, Maya. Come on, let's go, Maya said, putting her arm around me like Lizzie would. How charming. I saw something on Lizzie, besides the cut. I saw burn marks. So? I think you know what I'm getting at. She paused a moment, then went really solemn. Oh. Yes. The rest of the day, we walked in silence, every single one of us. I was singing a song in my head, but I wasn't sure what it was. All I knew was that if it had a happy beat to it, it made me feel a little better. Imagine. By the end of the day, we were all so tired we could barely stand up. We traveled a long way without messing around. We were now somewhere I didn't recognize. There was a stream, but I wasn't sure how good the water was. There was many small animals like rabbits and birds, although I wasn't sure if we would eat them or be able to catch them. We laid down on the bed of grass. It wasn't the most comfortable, but it was better than the night before. I could feel a few bugs crawling on me, but I didn't mind. I didn't think they were poison. I was too tired to care about anything. For a little while, I forgot about Lizzie and Charlie and everything. In the morning, I was in a terrible mood. I felt like my heart wasn't even in my body, like it was broken in the grass next to me. I was the first one to wake up, which was rare for me because usually I was the last. I sat up watching the sun. I was up early enough to see it. And that's where the story ended. I think as I kept writing, I was just getting more ready for it to end, and so I just, I feel like I should have, really gave Lizzie a true, appropriate death instead of them just deciding to give up and throw her in the ditch. With that being said, that is my Hunger Games story I wrote when I was 13. And I'll see you guys in my next video.